Mafia. For most people, the word means more than an abstract, spiraling thought node at the face of the chasm of the back of their minds. But for some, it smacks round their whole lives, like a raging serpent. Tonight, on Frankly, we discuss how organised crime turned one of Hollywood's young starlets into a mind-bent criminal overlord. This is Goldie's story.
She was Ohio's most promising young talent pup. They were a criminal network whose members and reputation spanned the whole ball of the world. Together they would be the most powerful media force to set face on the earth. It all started in the 1970s. For the 50 years previous, the media's portrayal of the mafia had been gratuitously caricatured, relying on two-dimensional characters and nonsensical tie-ups. This was fine by the mafia down to a T. The underworld knew that stereotyping was a result of ignorance, and the more ignorance surrounding the mafia was exactly what the mafia wanted. However, with the introduction of in-depth and intelligent mafia features like the popular chase film The Godfather, the Cosa Nostra was in danger of being publicly exposed. Torture was the order of the day, so to counteract the swelling abscess of new wave crime films, the mafia decided to produce a series of low-budget cinematic romps to busy the minds of the film and Syrian public. To direct these public distractions, the mafia called on criminal entertainer Peachy Chins Dreyfus. We caught up with Chins during his sellout LA tour. Due to big security, we had to film with secret.
But seriously though, I have these problems sleeping, you know, so I go to my doctor. He says, I know why you got trouble sleeping. He says, you got trauma. I said, I got trauma? He said, yeah. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, I think something happened when you were a child. You want to tell me? I said, you want to keep your nose out of my fucking business? I said, look, it's not important. He said, look, you got to tell me, otherwise I can't help you. So I said, you want to keep your nose out of my fucking business? Come on, man, what's he talking? So he said, look, if you don't tell me, you ain't going to put every problem in your sleep. So you know what I do? Kick him in the fucking head. I said, who's got trouble?
So one day the boss comes up to me and he says, listen, I want you to direct this movie. And I said, I don't know the first thing about directing a fucking movie.
Since Chins didn't know the first thing about directing a fucking movie, the mafia enlisted the help of media veteran Blaine Whist. They had a director. Now all they needed was a star.
I was working for a feature for Ryan Pictures at the time, and we were sharing a studio with a feature called A Wacky Scheme. And I happened to catch sight of this girl while we were filming, while we were on a break. And I thought, she's perfect, so I turned to the gaffer on the picture, Romulo Equistapace, one of the best gaffers in the business. And I said to him, who's this girl? And he said, that's Goldie. And I said, can you tell me anything about her? Is she available? And he had no idea, and neither did anyone else. And I looked around the studio for a long time, couldn't find anyone. I got so frustrated. I eventually went to the men's room, and while I was there, I looked up and happened to notice some graffiti on the wall. And it was a phone number, and it said Goldie Hawn, with the suggestion that she was available for work. And I phoned it, and it was her. And after a couple of very rewarding meetings, we decided that we could go into making pictures together.
Good afternoon, Goldie. How are you? We heard there was a little bit of trouble earlier on.
No, everything's fine, really.
Glad to hear it. Well, thanks for agreeing to this interview, Goldie.
Well, I've always been good with my mouth.
So, tell us about your life as a mafia film woman.
There was some shots. Good shots.
dear. Were those gunshots coming from you?
The only way you're ever going to get money out of a bank is to rob one.
But, Goldie, can't we work it out? I mean, even with my problems, can't we just...
Scratch, 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 flick, flick, flick.
But if I go and see Dr. Spielplatz, that'll only confirm our suspicions.
I'll know that you're incapable of love.
Now, you were Goldie's boyfriend for some time before and during her time in the Mafia. How did you begin to notice that new lifestyle affecting her behaviour?
Well, she'd come home very late at night sometimes and, kick off her shoes, as one does, and one glance at her feet, and you could tell something was up. We would sit down at dinner, or even sometimes lunch, and she would try and eat her meal with her knife and fork in the wrong hand. And she tried, but she couldn't do it. And you could tell that she spent her day with hoodlums. I remember one time in particular, Goldie asked me to go out and buy 51 mattresses. I did, of course. And when I came back, there were a whole handful of mafiosos and mobsters ready to sleep on them, and they stayed with us for almost 6 to 8 months.
How did the presence of the Mafia, the constant presence of the Mafia in your household, change the day-to-day?
Well, I don't know if you've ever lived with mafiosos. I assume you haven't.
No.
They're awful. They would cook cheese on the grill and not clean it forever. They clean the windows, sure, but only from the inside. They would buy food. They'd go shopping, buy food, but remove all the packaging and then put it in the cupboard. And I'm a creature of habit, so
Did you ever find yourself becoming less, or in fact more, attracted to Goldie because of her new Mafia involvement?
I would say physically, yes. She had obviously adorned the Mafia attire. You know what I mean. And she was very attractive. But at the same time, as well as adopting the Mafia's sense of fashion, she'd certainly adopted their lack of respect for everybody else. She was very intimidating a lot of the time, and I don't like powerful women.
Right. You say she adopted the Mafia attire. Now, if she were to wear, for example, a pinstripe suit, did she ever draw on a false moustache with eyeliner like in other screen shows? How did your parents feel about your vicarious involvement with organised crime?
Well, I didn't tell my parents. They died soon after they met Goldie for the first time. My dad had they'd got a wall in front of them, and the days before wall opened from the inside, it made sense to me, because they were huge masonry buffs. They collected all kinds of walls. At any one time when I was growing up, there'd be 7 types of walls in the house. So the fact that they were found cemented in the garden, made sense.
Yeah. Do you think that Miss Hahn and yourself could ever rekindle your relationship?
No, I don't think so. I mean, here we are, it's 2005 now, and there'd be a pretty big age gap now between us.
Yeah, of course.
Goldie may have been demanding in her private life, but what was she like as an employer? We spoke to her former PA Cleftpipe.
Did you feel that your role in her life changed at all with her integration into the mafia?
Well, I feel that with Goldie's integration into the mafia, she began to view me as a kind of a whipping child, someone who she could use for biscuits, of which she would eat an inordinate amount. She would get very upset because the crumbs would gather in her cuffs. And Goldie was very protective of her joints. That's something she was always very adamant about. She didn't like them being invaded or violated in any way. Goldie always needed to be in the public eye. She always wanted to be noticed. And increasingly, especially towards the end of our professional relationship, I found myself being the one who had to say, "Look, it's Goldie Hawn," which was quite destructive for my self-esteem, and I think for her self-image. That was during the time when she was a lot more solitary, and I don't know if there's quite a famous photo of her that was taken around that time, a black on white image of her with a cat in a shed, and she's looking at the cat as if to say, I know how you feel. And I think a lot of people related to the loneliness.
There were rumours circulating around that time that you and Goldie's relationship was more than professional.
Well, the relationship between Goldie and I was always strictly professional, in that every time we had sex, I got paid.
I need bail money at the 15th precinct, and I need it here right now. And bring some muffins.
In 1985, the Mafia became involved in the most notorious cake heist in media history. This covert stealing of Western European baked goods became known as the French Confection, and with Goldie now fully enrolled in the ranks of the criminal underworld, she was pulled in to real illegal behaviour for the first time.
I'm angry, I'm tired, and I'm hungry, and I'm running with the wolves!
Goldie was slipping into darker and darker recesses of her own mind-brain. She was taking up increasingly eccentric habits. For example, when the TV was talking, she would make disparaging comments at the people on it, and she would say things that just didn't make any sense. She would talk about cups and gums, Enya for some reason, and tuna fish, but never with any kind of relevancy.
When did you realise that you yourself were in over your head?
With the French Confection?
Yes.
Well, I remember once, towards the climax of the French Confection, I remember lying in Raisins and just thinking, what have I done?
Goldie was infamous for her violent outbursts. Were you ever witnessed any of this form of violent punishment?
There were one or two things she used to do. She would get us all, 45 of us in a room together. We'd all be made to take off our shoes and put them in a pile in the middle of the room. The lights would be turned out. She would take one shoe from the pile. Then we'd grapple around trying to find our shoes. And the man left with only one shoe would be beaten by Goldie with the other.
Goldie would make us eat a lot of wheat-based products, and then we wouldn't be able to stand up for ages.
She would also put a man in a box with an animal. The length of time would depend on the animal. If it were a more aggressive animal, like a cat or a fox, then it would usually be quite a short time. But for longer times it would be a generally more annoying, smaller animal like a stoat or a weasel. The size of the box would also vary depending on the animal. You can't fit, for example, a man and a cat in a Tupperware box. But if you used a large coffin, for example, for a man and a stoat, it would be both a waste of time and a big box.
This disturbing photograph, in which a man in a box can clearly be seen at the bottom right-hand corner, lends fact to Pipe's claim. We had it analysed.
Yeah.
It was real.
Were you ever subject to any of these punishments?
Well, Goldie used to wake me up in the morning with the understanding from the night before that I was to pretend to be dead, and I couldn't move at all. And she'd be trying to wake me up, and she would get more and more frustrated at my lack of movement. She would hit me with books, cloths, light furniture, and if I moved at all, she would get very angry, and you didn't want to make Goldie Hawn very angry.
But Goldie's criminal career went into wild spin upon the discovery that she was in pregnancy.
You know what I read in Cosmopolitan? That if you don't have a baby before you're 30, you're going to have a Mongolian idiot.
There were rumours circulating at the time that Goldie's quote-unquote bastard demon seed spawn was in actual fact half your child. Were there any truth to those rumours?
I'd say there was some truth in the rumour that she was mine, but I'd say there was more truth in the rumour that she wasn't.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
For a while, things were quiet. But in the 90s, the sudden resurgence of intelligent crime films caused the Mafia to strike back and show themselves in a new glow. Light-hearted, gay, and even succumbing to pratfalls. Goldie, however, was left on the cutting room floor. This may or may not be attributed to the mutant strain of dermatitis she contracted in her years as a waltzer, but her legacy lives on.
Will her career as a famed face be exhumed? Only the renal passage of time will tell.
The end.
Well, I'm afraid that's the end of the interview.
Well, I'm glad you told me.
Well, thanks for talking to us again, Goldie.